All right, everybody, this is the Jere Metcalf podcast where top real estate agents tell how we do it. And today we have on the show a guest from One Sotheby's International Realty that is not a real estate agent. He is the director of operations. And so we are going to get some great insights on how top real estate agents tell how they do it. Joshua Paul, good to see you.
It's good to see you, Jere Metcalf. I am happy to be here.
I am happy you are here.
Mm.
So thank you, by the way, so much for taking the time out of your crazy schedule to be here.
No, I mean, it's a joy. I love what you do. I love these podcast episodes. I find it like incredible that you have like such a fast run rate. I don't know, like you just know so many people, and it's incredible to see how long you've been putting this content out. So I'm excited just to be another voice.
Well, thank you. And it's awesome to have you, Director of Operations, and a big part of One Sotheby's. You have not always been in real estate, but being with One Sotheby's, you definitely have a perspective on agents. I want to start though, like, give us your story. Like, give us from the beginning. Who is Joshua Paul? Where did you grow up? What I think you got into engineering first, and that evolved into finally real estate.
Yeah.
Like, give us like where are you from?
Who is Joshua Paul? I mean, that is the question everyone's asking. I think that's my lifelong journey to discover myself. But no, I grew up in New York, so I've kind of had a journey of moving south. Where I started in New York, went for 15 years, Jersey about 15 years, Philadelphia for a couple of years, and Miami now for a little over 4 years about. So I've kind of just made my way south. Today's my birthday, so fun fact. There you go.
Happy
Here we
birthday,
are. Here
everybody.
we are.
12/12 is your birthday. Burning
You're
date.
right.
I can't not
Yeah.
give it away.
Yeah.
Happy
12, 12. Yeah.
birthday.
12, 12, 12 was a major birthday for me. I was like, this is amazing numbers. No, so life started in New York, quite busy inner city kid. My mother was a teacher. My dad kind of did a bunch of different jobs, but wanted to be a pastor. So, he spent a lot of time trying to develop that. And my mom was a teacher, and, we lived in Queens, and she worked in a neighborhood called Forest Hills, very, 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 very affluent area, good education. She was offered a job. She worked for Hard of Hearing. And she said, look, I'll take the job if I can bring my kids here. She preferred that school system versus the one that we lived in. And so that's kind of how I grew up when I was in New York. I just had a lot of opportunity, really get a great education, and grew there, left about 15, 16, went to New Jersey, lived in the Somerset area, grew there, went to undergrad and then grad school, and just had a whole bunch of different jobs along the way. I think when I started college, I wanted to be a chef. They say when you go to college, you do something that you love. And I love food,
Yeah.
So let me go do that. I learned very, very
Me
quickly.
too, but right.
No, I learned very, very quickly. Food is a hobby, not a career. Obviously, no shade. I respect the profession. For me, it was the time distribution for me didn't make sense personally. I spent 30 minutes going and coming from the grocery, spend 30 to an hour at the grocery, then get back. Then there's the prep, and there's the cooking, and there's the cleaning. Then you finally get to the table. It sits on the table for 20 minutes. It's all gone. And I'm like, it's all gone. There's all that time for 20 minutes. I'm like, oh no, I can't do this every day. And I think the second part of it was all the times that you want to be with people, you're working, weekends, evenings, holidays, special moments. And I said, you know what, that's also not how I want my life to be marked. And so I said, let me shift gears, and I went into business. Actually, my degree was in business and Bible. I went to a little Christian college in New Jersey for undergrad. And while I did that, I was in engineering. I loved it. I was working with a lot of specialists. They were at the top of their craft, and it was forensic engineering. I think we're used to seeing CSI, crime scene investigators. They were incident scene investigators. And so I really just around people who are always critically thinking, problem solving from a very, very young age. And so I did that for about 4 years. I graduated undergrad and went into nonprofit, working with inner city youth in New York and New Jersey. So Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, Camden, Newark, all these inner city areas, and really just helping young people to more or less not be a product of their environment. And that's the way to say it in a really short way. But what that practically was, mentoring, helping with food supplies. A lot of these kids had subsidized living, right? And so making sure there was groceries, gifts for the holidays. We did summer camps, we did weekend camps, we did music, and we did athletics. And so just really just helping to dream big. And I think that really is a lot of what I do, just even throughout my career. You'll find when living in the inner city, there's not a lot of order, there's more chaos. And you kind of just are thinking day to day, moment to moment. It's just make it from one moment to the next moment. And when you live in that kind of a way, in high levels of chaos, you can't dream big. You don't, it's a luxury. Dreaming is a luxury. On the sound side, when we would do vision boards or we do Christmas lists, what do you want for Christmas? And what's your vision for next year? The kids would just look at each other. What? What do you mean?
I didn't even know what that meant.
Right. And so what I found is like, man, you've got to help them dream and then help them realize that dream. And I just kind of took that with in my career. I ended up going into grad school, did a lot of success in the nonprofit. I went into grad school during my time there. And then from there, I transitioned into software. But what I found I was very, very good at was taking things from ideation to realization, taking the dream and making it a reality. My graduate degree was in supply chain, which is operational, and marketing, which can be promotional, sales, et cetera, et cetera. And that was.
Say those two again. It was. So you said dream to reality, and then you said marketing and sales.
Marketing and sales. So supply chain and sales. So operational, sales, marketing. And while I was there, was a guy from my team. He's actually calling me right now. He's wishing me a happy birthday, probably. We were in a class, and I'll try to make this quick so I can give it back to you. But
this is perfect. Yeah.
He goes, are you still doing the nonprofit? When you're making $40,000 a year, it's very difficult to you can dream as big as you like, but you do need resources sometimes along the way. And so I said, yeah, man, I'm applying to all these consulting firms. For me, I was always a good listener. I think it's very key. If you want like a takeaway, my first takeaway would be a good listener. I think if you listen to people long enough, they tell you exactly what they need. And as long as your approach is to be a help to that individual, you can very easily deliver, right? You just got to listen good enough and be curious enough to ask the right questions. And so I said, I'm good at that. I've displayed that over the years with friends and with volunteering and with just relationships in general. I said, well, let me do that in consulting. The job is to be able to understand a problem and be able to solve it quickly within the amount of resources and limitations that you have. Yeah, so I truly believe that there is an art to asking questions. There is an art to curiosity. Be curious. I think that's a big takeaway that I'll give right here, right now. Be curious. The more curious you are, the more that you'll learn, the more that people will connect with you. And the more you'll be able to advance as far as serving people well. And so I said the best career for that is consulting. So I'm applying to all these firms, Deloitte, Accenture, et cetera, Prudential. And so I'm telling him this. He's like, why don't you apply to my company? I'm like, I've got 5 resumes out, man. I really don't want to add another one. He goes, I said, what company? All I knew about this guy is that he wore 3-piece suits and had a leather briefcase. And, he was just always moving a mile a minute. And I said, what company do you work for? He said, ADP. I said, well, what's an ADP? Right? I had no idea what it was. He goes, listen, man, I've seen you present. I see how you work in our group projects. You're going to do great. I submitted my resume and, within 4 or 5 rounds, that was it. I joined the company. I was there for about 6 years and had a blast.
ADP is like the corporate of corporate.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, how did you get so you went from there to real estate, and there's so much about your story I already want to ask, is just looking at, you grew up in Queens, and then you went to the school. You kind of got to see you're always seeing 2 sides of everything.
Correct.
And then as you grew up, you had Bible and business, and then somehow that converts into engineering.
Well, I'd done engineering first, and then I went out of the culinary and went into the only other thing that I really loved was Jesus. And so I said, let me learn more about that. And so that's why I
Yeah.
went to the Bible and the degree. And then I was going to do Bible and counseling, right? Because I loved listening to listening and helping people. But my mentor was like, counseling is fun. You don't necessarily need to build your career in that. Why don't you try business? I think you're really, really good at leadership. I'm like, no, I'm not. But so I'm grateful for mentors. So that's another big takeaway. I'm very intentional about having mentors in my life. When you have people that you admire, respect, and trust, they have an ability to see potential in you, and you want them to pull that potential out, to protect that potential, and to pour into that potential. And so I've always been intentional to have people in my life as mentors.
Well, you said, and then we're going to move forward, or maybe we won't, or we will, but I wanted, because these are important parts of your life, is what you've seen from the best of the best to the toughest of the toughest neighborhoods, and then business and Bible. And I have to say this about that is a lot of people hear that and they're like, oh, that's just church, or that's not for me. And personally, it doesn't matter what, if you read the Bible, like you actually read it, and this isn't, don't worry, listeners, we're not going to try to get you to go to church.
Right.
But I think it is important. It's interesting that anybody who's really paid attention to it, there are messages in there that are in every self-help book that you can read.
Correct.
And so in that, it's interesting how you had this kind of base level foundation where it really, like culturally, where it is all coming from and pulling from history. And then you also, like, because in business, everybody who does well in business knows it's more than credibility, it's mindset, and understanding of truth and principles and how things just work.
Correct.
And also business.
Yes.
So here you are, like, as you look backwards, it's so clear, but moving forward, did you have any idea where this might be going? It doesn't.
Oh my gosh. Again, it's my birthday, so I'm reflecting a lot. I'm like, who would have thought in a million years that here I would be? And obviously, I'm very, very grateful to live the life that I have. But for sure, I've always been at like the intersection of many, many different things. My mother, white, my dad, black, right? Then my whole mom's side of the family is Jewish. Right. And so I celebrate Christmas and Hanukkah and Passover and all of these things, Easter. So I celebrate it all, I appreciate it all. And it's all, yeah.
Wow. So talk about, like, we have you on the show today to bring a lot of perspective, and you're somebody with a heck of a lot of perspective. So, because here's the other thing, let's get through your life. And then I want to start really asking questions and bringing the things out as well, because you were with ADP, like, I've never worked at ADP, but I've got a husband who's worked with them as a commercial broker. I've got friends who have worked for them. That is corporate of corporate, a huge company.
Yeah.
Now One Sotheby's, well, first of all, residential real estate. I mean, come on, like the brokers that are out there making, but it's not corporate. One Sotheby's is an incredibly large corporation, but incredibly entrepreneurial. And I would say not exactly what you think of, not exactly the ADP environment, but corporate. So keep telling us the story. What next? ADP, and then
so I come out to Miami for a competitor, and I'm here for a little bit. COVID layoffs come into play, and that's always like scary. I transitioned into Compass, spent some time there, and from there spent some time in consulting. Someone I met in college, and they have their own consulting agency, and so consulting with a lot of big companies, so like Columbia and J&J, and lots of organizations. So I still get to do that, which is very, very exciting. But I landed at One Sotheby's because of Steve. I think you've had a conversation.
Yeah,
we had a workout together, and he said, you gotta check us out. I said, all right, I'll check it out. And I really won me over because of the people. And like the further in I get into the organization, the more people that I meet, the more I fall in love. It is the best of both worlds. You have entrepreneurial spirit, but you also have organization, right? You have the corporate structure, but you have the nimbleness and agility of a family boutique business. And it's incredible that they have such a beautiful brand, global, et cetera, et cetera. But for me, it's the people. I always say, like, at this point in my career, I want to work with people that I want to work with. And I want to work with these people. They are good people. They're authentic people. They know your name, and they want you to win. And they're going to do everything they can to see that you win. And it's hard to say that about a lot of people. And I think agents know that, right? I think agents deal with so many people. Where there are people, there will be problems. Point blank, period. You cannot get away from that. And so agents know that. Agents see the best of people, they see the worst of people.
Exactly.
Sometimes they see that same situation in the same person, right? And the last thing you want is to have like a question mark about the people that are in your brokerage as well. And so, I'm very, very grateful.
It's about everything. It's like be around who look at what you want your future to be and look at the people around you, and that's it.
Yes,
That
yes,
really is it. When you look at, so looking at like all this perspective you have in your life, I mean, and it's like pick a topic, you've got perspective on it more than most. And then getting specific real estate agents. So you've had a long enough career now working with some of the best real estate agents in the country, many of them. And as you've done that, what have you seen in taking from your life experience and taking from the success? Because you know, like a successful agent is today what a lot of people aspire to be,
yeah.
but it's not what it looks like. What
Right.
would, like when I say that, what comes to mind is what it takes to be an agent and what does it mean? And as people look at our listeners who are top agents now and who want to keep their game and who want to get to that level or that next
Yeah.
level,
Yeah.
what is that common denominator of these guys that are at the top?
Wow, the common denominator. Oh man, they know their stuff. They know what they're talking about. That's number one. There's a competency and then there's a confidence. They go together. They've got resilience. It's not easy it's not easy being a real estate agent. You have to hold yourself accountable. You have to be dialed in on your schedule. You have to be able to see the victory when no one else sees the victory. You are you are the president of your own business. You are the CEO of your business. You are employee number one, and you report to yourself. You submit your books every quarter. Like that's you. It's all on you. Unless some of these bigger teams that have built out an infrastructure because they have the capital for that. Not everybody has that ability. And so they have bounce back ability as well, right? Because you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. Often you lose a lot before you win a lot. And so that's often where the resiliency comes in, but you've got to be able to wake up every morning with that positive mindset. And there's a lot of programs that would talk about mindset, but it really, they have resilience. They've got consistency, that they understand that my overtime success is based on my daily habits. And so they just keep investing in the daily habits and the calls and the knocks and the emails. And maybe I've got 5 people in my sphere of influence. Next month I'll have 10. Next month after that, I've got 15. Then I'll have 30. Well, I've sent out only 1 mailer this month. I'm going to send out 2 next month. I only texted 1 person this week. I'm going to text 2 tomorrow, 3 the day after, right? You've got to do those little things. And what happens is momentum builds and then success hits itself. All of a sudden you wake up like, whoa, look at this, right? And people around you will see you like an overnight success. Only you really know the pain. Only you really know the pain. And so you really, I would say have a good support system. Have people in your life that will encourage you along the way. Build a board of directors, right? They maybe will never do anything for your business, but keep you focused on your goal and hold you accountable to the things that you say you're going to do. Because it's a lonely business out there until you start hitting some of the big ones. All of a sudden, all these friends show up. You're like, well, where were you when I had
so true, right?
where were you when I had no idea what I was going to do? When I had 1 suit or I had 2 outfits and I just kept washing them every day, right? And so that's often the story, right? And then once they make it, I think the best of them don't allow themselves to be calloused because of all of the tough stuff that they've had to go through. I think another thing that really makes a successful agent is that they really fast at solving problems, right? It takes a whole lot to get a transaction across the finish line. And really only agents really know a lot. You're managing people, you're managing paperwork, you're managing deadlines, you're managing budgets, you're managing negotiations, right? And you're managing timelines, right? And often you are the last one on the priority, right? Like no one wants to hear about an agent's problem, right? They want to know, is it done? Is it done right? Did you do what you say you're going to do? Did you get what I asked for? And it's like, holy smokes. And so, yeah,
Well,
I think
you're often, whether it's your fault or not, you are the first to get blamed. But when you know your market, when you're resilient, when you have an accountability program, when you're a visionary, you've got to see what's not there yet. Because if you don't, what's to keep you going? Because discipline runs out, right? I
Yeah,
mean, discipline's got to be a part of it.
yeah, yeah,
Habits, I love what you said about the habits I have every day. It's the compound effect of those that create these magnificent outcomes of what I do. When you look at your life, I mean, you've got such you've got so much experience, but you've got such trajectory of success and continued success in your career. What would you say is the common denominator of that in your career and paralleling that to even the agents that you watch out in the field?
I would probably say just the things that I've just mentioned, I think,
Yeah. But what is one? Like if you could narrow it down to one.
hmm, um, intentionality. I'm very intentional. Time is precious. I always have a sense of urgency. I always have
Yeah.
I always have an agenda. And I don't mean like, oh, I've always got an agenda. Like I have an agenda. Like I know what I'm going to do for the next whole week. I know what time I'm waking up. I know when this conversation is going to end. I know what exactly I'm going to do when this conversation ends. I have my day planned until 1 o'clock, in the morning, so I free time. I don't know how to say this. If you want free time, schedule it. Otherwise, assign your time. If you don't assign your time will assign you. Just like
Oh,
right? So if you are intentional with your time and you hold yourself accountable to the things that you're going to do, then the outcome will happen. But if you're just like, oh no, it's just going to happen, I got an idea of what I'm going to do, and then you find yourself, oh, but the meeting went longer. I was going to do the workout after I watched this show, or I was going to submit the email the first thing in the morning. No, do it today. Do it now, right? Schedule the work time. So for me, I'm very, very intentional with my time. And when someone gives me their consideration, like I know exactly what I'm going to ask. I'm going to have an agenda. I'm going to have an opening, a closing. I know I don't want to waste anyone's time, but certainly not my own. And so being intentional with everything.
and what you just said, when you say that, if I didn't know you and I was reading that, I would think you were like the typical corporate guy. And in real estate, it's so important to connect. You have a way of doing that. And also at the same time, establishing a connection.
Yeah.
And almost because you're doing it out of respect of time and productivity. But how did you learn that?
I learned people are important. Came up, that's on me. I by myself. I did this. Like, I don't know if anyone does anything by themselves. Okay. I mean, that's not,
Right.
you need people. Partly my growing up, we moved every 2 years. Again, being in between two worlds for most of my life. I don't have any friends from kindergarten, right? I can't say, oh, we went to pre-K together, and then we went to all these schools together, and oh my gosh, and we did bat mitzvahs, and I was like, I was there for moments. I wasn't there. I've not had the opportunity for a large part of my life to have a lifetime with people, right? I can only say my longest standing friend, was probably when we met when we were 15, and we're still in communication right now, right? So I've learned to value people very quickly. And so for me, people have always been first for me. Relationships matter. For me, it's very important. Integrity. When you say you're going to do something, do it. Because I've seen the opposite so much, right? So I've seen people say they were going to do things and not do them, not follow through. And the disappointment that comes with, I never want to put someone in that position, right? And so so people matter. And so if I've learned over time, if I'm only going to get 2 years with this person, maybe because we moved every 2 years, that's kind of how New York worked at the
Yeah.
time. I was like, man, I want to make sure that when I'm not here, we can still have a meaningful connection, because the time that we had together was meaningful and purposeful. That's one. And two, I grew up in a lower income area, and I didn't have birthday parties every year. I didn't have Christmas and tons of I always got Hanukkah gifts. I definitely got, grandma made sure the Hanukkah gifts were stacked, right? Right. But there were some birthdays and holidays, things didn't come through. And so I know what it's like to for someone to say something and not follow through. I know what it's like to be in a time of need and not really have a person to lean on. And so no one should be by themselves in a time of need. That means you need a ride to the airport, you need help moving your house, like that means that too, right?
Yeah.
And for agents, it's like my time of need is I'm in my second, third year. I'm trying to break through to 5 million, 6 million, 7 million. I'm in my first few months. I'm just trying to figure out what do I do? They should have someone in that time of need. Yeah, so no one should be alone in their time of need. And for agents, that could look like a couple different things. Maybe they're hitting a wall at 3 million, like I want to get my first $1 million listing, or I want to break into double digits, or maybe it's I just started and I don't know where to start and I don't know what it means. What is a sphere of influence, right? That is an agent's time of need. And the brokerage needs to be there for that agent in that time of need. And so it can look maybe they need help dreaming. I know I want to be successful in real estate, but what does that mean? And how do I do that? And so they just need a conversation. And maybe the time of need is, what does marketing look like? Well, here's what your marketing could look like. Maybe the time of need is, I got a client, they're ready to buy. I don't know what to do, helping them realize the opportunities and maybe connections they connect with for listings that might fit their buyer profile, right? So a brokerage, that's the brokerage job. And so I love being a part of making sure that one does that, right? Because that's my core. And I get to now ensure that that is exactly what one does for all of our agents at their varied levels of professionalism and expertise. And so I love what I do. Agents are some of the most interesting people I have ever met in my entire life. I
They're my
genuinely,
favorite. But yeah.
oh my gosh, I absolutely love spending time with agents. So I get to hang out with some amazing people. I get to learn and hear their stories. And I get to share how, hey man, together we're better. I always share with our agents, we're storytellers. At the end of the day, as a brokerage, we're really, really good at telling your story at the highest level. And so together we're better. And so I love unpacking that and what that actually means. And a lot of agents are like, wait, what's my story? I don't know. I'm amazing. I know that. But no, it's like, what does that mean for your clients? Like, your clients need to understand your story as well.
Exactly.
That's how you can move the dial on know, like, trust, right? People do business with people that they know, they like, and they trust. And so how can we move that dial with you and for you?
Exactly. Earlier you said, and this is so true, like agents solve problems. Like as you become a great agent, it's when you solve the problems nobody ever even saw.
Mm.
Have you in watching agents in your career, or just like in any capacity, but I think about as it relates to our listeners, what what do you think it is that those agents have that can do that and solve problems? Because it's kind of like the not the even the 80/20, but the 95/5 rule in this business.
Mm. That's a tough question. That is a tough question. I think honestly, some of that, it comes with knowing where to go. When you either you know where to go, or if you don't know where to go, you know where to go to get that solved. You understand, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense, right?
Yeah.
So you have like
Know your resources.
yeah, they're resourceful. I think that's the word I'm looking for.
Problems are opportunities,
Yeah,
right?
resourcefulness. I will say that is 100%. The more resourceful and creative an agent can be at saying, no task is impossible. I will figure it out. Give me the opportunity. I will crush it out of the park. Like, that agent will not fail no matter what, because failure is not an option for that agent. You understand? And so you have
That's the truth.
yeah,
Yeah.
you have a 20-year agent that has the connections, that knows who to go, what doors to knock on, what phones to text and to call. But the newer agent might be like, I just know like a broker, and I have like some friends, and I know like someone on Instagram, right? If you don't know yourself, at least know where to go or who to call for a particular thing. Like for me, I like when I go in and like an agent goes like, I got this contact for this, I got this contact for that. So I think that's resourcefulness. That's how you solve problems very quickly. And either you're doing it yourself, or you know someone that can do it. And don't be afraid. And I think that goes to, don't be afraid to ask, like ask for help. You know,
You know, yeah. It's talking about asking for help, and you've helped so many people. I think about your life experience. You've seen so many people who have it so much harder than, I think about, like, sometimes, especially when we get into big cities, we get in these bubbles where we forget that people don't like, we're so used to thinking it's a hardship to not have a fancy car. We forget there are people who are hungry, and we forget there are kids who don't get Christmas.
Right.
And you see that, and I ask that to say, in that you also see people overcome so much.
Yeah.
And it's that humanity of us when we struggle at whatever level it is, there's something in us that rises to the occasion or doesn't. And you've seen it on so many levels, from being a top agent to being hungry and figuring out how to get it together. What is that in people? What do you think it is that some people, and there may be a lot of things that are able to like pull through and that aren't?
Well, I think something you said earlier about vision is one of the key factors. I think when you got a dream, when you do have a dream and you're like, I don't see the way, or I don't have the resources, I don't know how, but you wake up, you think about it, you go to sleep, you think about it, like, I don't know, but this is just gonna happen. I think that gives you that tenacity. Vision pulls. It doesn't leave you alone. I got this vision, it's gonna happen. I got this vision. So vision pulls you, and you're so focused on that coming to reality that all the sideshow and the distractions and the obstacles, they're not as big to you. Someone who's just like trying to make it to next week, an obstacle comes up, it's like, whoa, that's it. I don't know what's going to do, it falls apart. But when a vision is so big, it pulls you through all of that, and you don't make big things out of little things. It's like, no, we'll figure this out, we're going to move on. This is like, we just got in the car, like we're going somewhere very, very far. We don't have time to stop at this first rest stop, but we're going to keep it moving. So I think that's one part of it, is vision. I think the other part of it is when you don't have that, it's the people that you got in your corner that don't stop believing in you and remind you of how amazing you are. They remind you of all your potential. So I think it's both. It's the inward motivation and the inward drive coupled with the external support and accountability, which is why what you do is so pivotal.
Well, thank you. It's what I hear is, you can only be pushed so far, but if something's pulling you, you're going to get there. And what gets you there is the people around you supporting that. Because you can give somebody a fish and they'll eat the fish and then it's done. Yeah. It's gone. Yeah. But if you can teach them to fish and find out what a better fisherman or whatever else it is that contributes to that. But in that's about the people that you get around you that help you create that future. And in looking in that, because my next question, when you said vision, was I was going to ask you, and you may still have more, but how do you know and how do you find that vision? Because I truly, in coaching, as a lot of people know now about breakthrough luxury coaching, the agents who make it are the ones who have the vision that pulls them and finding that vision. What do you think? The answer you already gave without being asked and that I heard was it's the people around you, but what would you say it is, or what else would you add to that is the vision that pulls you, that gives you that clarity, that gets you and gives you the life that you're meant to live?
Yeah, I think it's different for everybody. And I think I've heard you talk about this in different sessions, but like your why, the vision is your why, right? So if you know what your why is, and your why could change from season to season, right? I remember when I was a kid and I was like, one day I'll make six figures. I hit it and I was like, wait a second, that one day came a lot sooner than I thought it would come.
Which is great.
I need to revision, right? I need a new vision. I need a new goal, right? Obviously that's a monetary goal. I think for me, one thing that I love doing is I love being able to help my siblings. Like if they're in a time of need, that they can always call their brother will be there. If I got it, you got it, right? So I'm doing this for more than just me. I'm doing this for my family. I want them to be in a beautiful place. I want them to have a beautiful life. And so no, failure is not an option, right? And so it's understanding what your why is. If you don't know what your why is, you're like, I don't know what my why is. I want to be, on, Netflix special selling, $1 billion houses. Okay, great.
Why? Yeah.
That could be your why. Like that genuine.
Yeah.
But that could also be your why, man. You just like it. You just like being that person. Not everyone gets to do that. I think start asking your questions like, what's important to me? Why am I in real estate? Why am I pursuing this industry? It's a silly question, but what do I see myself in 5 years? And then back it. Where do I want to be a year from now? Like a year from now, what will be my story? And if you don't know that, then at least know like what people you want to be around. What people do I
That is
admire?
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what people do I admire? And if I look around, do I like these people? Am I connected here? Are these people pulling the best out of me or pulling better out of me? If the answers to those are no, it's like, hey, then I need to change my environment. I need to be around people that I have a deeper connection with. I need to be around people or try. Maybe like I'm not even trying to connect with my network. So I think I got to put some work into it. But
So true.
yeah,
Yeah.
do a self-assessment.
Energy is everything, and the people around you are energy, and that energy pulls more out of you than you. It's like a butterfly doesn't know how big its wings are. Okay, final three questions.
Great.
Number one, if there is one book we have to read that has changed your life or career, what is it?
There's many. I can always take the easy answer and say Bible, but I'm gonna take the second easy answer and say Atomic Habits.
Oh, yeah.
That book is absolutely incredible. It's very, very practical. It has big ideas, but very practical applications for anyone and everyone in any career, and not just career, but like personal life. You know, I think of life in 5 different facets. I call it the 5 F's:
Mm,
family, finances, fitness, friends, and faith. You know, you ever get the time of, hey, how are you doing? Or what's going on? I used to find myself so confused how to answer that question. Like, one, do you care really? And then 2, I don't know how to answer this question. It's such a big question. And so just for
right.
self-organization, remember I told you agenda, process, order, which is why I love the operational role, right? We don't rise to our goals, we fall to our systems, right? That's another.
Oh, yeah.
So
We thought of our
I'm very,
systems.
very, very good at systems, right? My dad would tell my brother, my dad was like in science. And I remember one day I was in my room and I overhear him saying, you know, for the 4th time, like, Luke, clean your room, dude. Why is your room still not clean? And because his brain operates at that level, he goes, order does not come from chaos. Intelligent energy must be applied. And I'm like, what did you just say? Like, what? Who says clean your room like that? But that stuck with me. Something about that resonated with me in a lot of ways. I am that intelligent energy that brings order to chaos, right? I think there should be a healthy balance of chaos. Like, chaos is a part of creativity and like, the potential of what could be. But there always needs to be structures. I call it freedom in a framework. I'm very good at building frameworks, and this allows for that flexibility. But Atomic Habits will show you a lot of that for sure.
Okay, I have to ask you this. So, Jordan Peterson, Order of
Yeah,
Chaos, have you read the first 12 rules and the second 12 rules? The first are about order and the second are about chaos.
I had
If
no
you
idea.
haven't, if
Yeah.
you haven't read it, some people accuse him of being things, whatever. He's apparently controversial, but if you read him, anybody listening, if you read him, he's not.
I'll
He's
check it out. Yeah, I'll check it out.
12 rules for life is order, and the
Check
second
it out.
12 rules are an antidote to chaos and the
That's
purpose of chaos and order in life.
that's
And
crazy.
he actually talks about the Bible and has stories about the Bible and brings them to life.
Yeah, I'll check
Anyway,
them out. I've seen some of
you
his stuff.
say that, I'm like, surely you've read it.
Yeah.
Okay. So the book is Atomic Habits. Next question.
Mhm.
If there's any one resource you could say your success could be attributed to over your lifetime so far, what is it?
Wow, that is so hard. Again, I would have to go with faith. I do believe Drake's song "God's Plan" is very real. God's plan. You know, so I would definitely say that. But outside of that, I would say, my gosh, it's just such a hard question. It's going to come down to the people.
Faith.
It's
It's
going to come
faith.
down. It's going to come down to the people around me. Um,
Oh,
I
yeah.
have I've been very intentional, and I've had the privilege of having incredible people around me that believe in me, that see potential in me that I don't see, and really work at seeing it come out of me. And I would not be here and what I am without them.
Yeah. Because opportunity is everywhere,
Yep.
but it's about seeing it and the people
I see it.
around you
Yeah,
or what create it and help you see it in the first
yeah,
place.
yeah, yeah.
Last question. If we forget everything from this conversation and only
Mhm.
remember one thing from you today, what would you hope that it is?
Uh, hmm. Life is best when you are authentically you. Not J T Ipsum. I hope I'm saying that correctly, but it's know thyself, right? It's this know thyself and to thyself be true. So spend time knowing who you are. That's where you'll be most comfortable. That's where you'll experience the most success. That's where you'll see the truest connections. That's where you'll find the most momentum, because you don't need to try to be you. You just are you. And when you are activated in your full authenticity in whatever it is you're passionate about, because at that point you're operating in what your passions, and you're around people that you want to be around, and you're being vulnerable because you're getting reciprocity. Oh man, limitless is the potential.
Wow. Thank you, Joshua Paul with One Sotheby's International Realty. It's so awesome to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a privilege.
Thanks for listening to the Jere Metcalf podcast, where top real estate agents tell how they do it. If you like this episode, please share it with friends. To find more episodes, search Jere Metcalf podcast on any platform for podcasts, or go to JereMetcalfPodcast.com. That's JereMetcalf